Hello everyone, welcome to Rob's Rogues, and today we're taking a look at Clayface, one of my favorite villains from Batman the Animated Series. And the Clayface, first time we see Clayface is in Feet of Clay, Part 1 and Part 2. So I have my handy-dandy Volume 1 of Batman the Animated Series. It's on Desk 3, as you can see right there, the Feet of Clay, Part 1 and 2. Matt Hagen was kind of duped by Rupert Everett and gave him this compound they would put on his face since he was injured from a stunt, and Rupert Everett eventually turned against Matt Hagen and forced him to drink the compound that he was putting on his face, and it turned him into Clayface. There's been many different incarnations of Clayface, but this is the one that they chose for Batman the Animated Series, and I think this is a really, really good Clayface. I think they did him very, very well, and very good likeness from the animated series into action figure form. He did have a little bit of a gimmick here that really doesn't kind of work much anymore. Now the figure is 20 years old. This ball spike here, you could squeeze the center of Clayface, and it should have shot out this with this is a hollow chamber in here, and so is this arm that you should be able to shoot out the ball and spike, but the plastic is kind of stiffened up over these last 20 years, so you're not able to get the air out anymore that pushes this ball and spike out. And eventually they did re-release this figure for the New Adventures of Batman, and this spike had just become a painted on piece, and they just officially molded it to the hand, so this piece didn't come out anymore. It was a nice little gimmick, but this is one of the ones that doesn't work quite well, as he was really kind of rubbery, which makes him kind of feel like clay, but it was hard to keep this hand in anymore. I used to put a rubber band or a piece of paper and kind of wrap it and shove it up in here to be able to keep this on. So you had the hand moving it around, the ball and spike would eventually end up falling off. And this is a piece I always thought I was going to kind of lose, so I always tried to make sure that I just kind of kept it with the figure at all times. He does have this little metal, I shouldn't say little, pretty big compared to for Clayface, these metal fingers that are coming out of his hands here that he used a couple times in the animated series, which I always thought was really kind of cool. But the detail work is done really, really well on this figure, and it's nice to see a 20-year-old figure that Kenner back in the day was really paying attention to the animated series. You could see all the little clay marks and pieces in here, and he just looks like a big blob of clay and mud. No articulation. It looks like there's a cut right here that he should be able to move somehow. That's just how these pieces are put together. No leg articulation at all. It's just the two arms that move around. This is a lot softer rubbery plastic than this piece is. This is still kind of hollow, but they thinned this one out quite a bit so you could get the squeezing motion that would move this cannon spike ball piece that doesn't move much anymore. So should have been able to squeeze here or here. So it doesn't quite work anymore. There's no head articulation at all. But with being such a big and massive looking figure, he just looks really cool to be able to stand on your shelf. We'll bring up Batman here for a little bit of size comparison. You can kind of see how big Clayface is compared to Batman, which in the animated series, the cartoon, Clayface is a really big, massive figure. The Clayface is also in one of my favorite episodes of animated series that is in the The New Adventures of Batman, called Growing Pains, where Robin is following this little girl around, and we find out that this little girl is actually part of Clayface. And I think it was a nice little touching episode. Growing Pains on the 4th season, or the 4th disc volume of Batman the Animated Series. I definitely recommend checking that one out, as it's a nice little touching Robin story that features Clayface in kind of a unique way that really hadn't been done before, and I really like that about Clayface. They can just do so much with the Clayface figure. So that's going to do it for Clayface here. move Batman out of the way. And he came to us, something I didn't check. He is, yep, he's a 1993 figure. So he was in the latter part of 93, one of the last few figures that came out in 93 before we got into the 94, which became the Adventures of Batman and Robin. So today we'll be taking a look at Clayface from the Batman animated series line. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues signing off saying we will see you guys next time.